Let's get started working on our pine needles for our park layout. I've got my palette knife out, the chipboard that we're going to be using. Sea Grass Kiss is the color of the glitter one. And then Chocolate Bronze is going to be our bottom base. And Blue Parakeet Opal Polish is going to be part of a layer also. So let's grab those out and I'm going to set them to the side. I want to go over a couple things with the gilding polish because it's something I keep saying, but I want everybody to see. If you looking at this gilding polish and you see the notches here and then adjacent from the other side, this cap cannot be any other way besides line up in between those. So in between the 4 notches, it has to be straight. And then once you have it like this, you're just gonna pop it to the side and that's it. If you try to do it when it's not in those 4 notches, it just doesn't come out. It has a locking mechanism and you just need to put it to the side there. So I'm gonna open mine up, get them all lined up, pop them off to the side. I actually store mine without the sponges on, just because I find that it is, it's a lot more space that I get in my drawers and things. So I just have a bag of these sponges and I pull them out as I'm getting ready to use them. All right, so I've got a scrap piece of paper. I've got our gilding polish. And of course, anytime I'm using the gilding polish, I always have a little bit of water and my little, what is this thing? Eyedropper that I add water with. I think it's super important if you're using these. They're a great product. They cover well, they dry fast, they go a long ways. Very little goes a long ways. But one of the problems that we have with them is as soon as we open them, it hits the air and it seems like they like to dry out. So every single time I open mine, whether I use it or not, I do add water to it. Okay, make sure you're done with it for that day and then add some water to your gilding polish. All right, open up these pine needles. Now, if I have a chipboard where it's in a square and it's the words and stuff, I leave it in that square prior to doing the gilding polish. But if I don't and they're like this, I could hold them or put them down like this. But then there's always like a spot that you're holding that you're not getting the gilding polish on. So what I like to do is to take my scrap piece of paper, put a smidge of adhesive on the back side of it because you're going to glue them down anyways. And while I'm doing the layers, it'll hold its place. All right, so there we go. So there's that, and that's how I'm gonna keep them in place as I put the gilding polish on them. So we're gonna cover all of these with the chocolate bronze first. So let's open that up, okay? Mine looks pretty good. That's a nice consistency. It definitely could add a little bit of water after this one. I keep adding my old gilding polishes to this. So you're gonna pull out your palette knife. This is much easier than actually putting your sponge into the material. I no longer recommend that you do that. Also on these containers, it tells you to get the sponge wet. I don't understand that. I never have. It makes, if you have too much water on this, it really is very messy. So I don't recommend it. Take your palette knife, cover that whole sponge by pushing the material into it and pulling off absolutely everything, okay? If you have too much material on it like that, it's gonna get into the crevices and it's not gonna be as clean and as nice as it could be. So pull everything off. And I'm just gonna take my sponge and I'm gonna gently, I just should have lined those up a little better, huh? There we go. And then once I feel like I've kind of used the maximum amount of it, I am going to reapply on the sponge. Okay, add some, push it in, and pull it all off. These kinds are a little pokey. Now this is just my silhouette mat that I'm using. There we go. That looks like it's covered pretty well, but I'm a little bit of a neurotic when it comes to this. I want to make sure it's covered 100%. So anytime I'm doing the regular gilding polish, I will definitely do at least 2 coats. I like to do 3, but absolutely I'm going to do at least 2. So here is my second. And really, I'm going to be covering a lot of this up with the green colors and the green kiss. The stems right in here is where I want to make sure I have covered. So I don't really need to take it to the edge, but I did with the originals. Oops. I like to cover everything really well. All right, that looks good to me. I'm done with this one. I'm going to take it. Now, I don't recommend, you doing this until you're 100% done, but I want to show you on the video what I want you to do. Because if you mess up and you don't like how you put the green on, you could go right back over with the chocolate bronze and start this process again, okay? So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to fill my, oh, let me see. I don't know if I'm on the thing. So I've got a full eyedropper and I'm just going to put that in there. And because this looks a little chunky, I'm actually going to do at least 2. So I got a full one. I'm going to put it in there. I don't mix it up or anything like that. I just leave it just like this. I do try to make sure there's nothing like right along the edges like that, but otherwise that's it. So lid on. With the palette knife, I have quite a few of them, but if you only have one, just wipe it off real quick. You don't have to actually clean it in between. Just use, a paper towel and wipe it off. And sometimes I forget to clean mine off. So if you have chunky spots like this, it's not going to hurt anything. But if you don't want them on there and it won't come off, use a sanding brush or a nail file. All right, same thing with the sponges. Wash them as soon as you're done with your whole project. Do not let this set, because if you do, it's gonna ruin your sponge. So now we're on to the blue parakeet color. And I really love this color. I've used it quite a bit. And that looks fabulous. That looks exactly like it's supposed to. It should be about the consistency of like sour cream. So if it's not, you need to add some water to it. All right, so we're gonna load up our sponge just like before. I like to cover the whole surface and then pull off my extra. And then from here, we're going to, I'm probably gonna pick each one up now because I wanna do the outer edges of this, and I think it'll just be easier to do. So if I grab a hold of one and I do the outside edges. Now the opal color is actually more translucent. So I'm gonna be doing a few coats of these. And once I'm done with a coat for each one, I'll go back to the beginning. Everything I do for the videos is in real time. I haven't let any of it dry or, come back a day later or whatever. Let me move that for a second. There we go. So we're doing the ends of the pine cone, or pine needle, sorry, pine cone. Don't know where that came from. Now the opal colors, when it says opal, what that does is on dark paper, it looks more of a blue. And on light paper, it looks more of a green. That's not the effect I'm trying to go with at the moment. I just want it to look similar to that, but I love that iridescent look. So load it up. Okay. And with this one, I'm going to do at least 3 coats. I feel like that should be enough, but we're going to confirm that as we go. And you can see as I add a coat, I hope you can see anyways, that it's turning more of that green color. But because of the lighting, it might look more iridescent than it should. Don't push too hard, otherwise you'll get like, you know, it bleeding off the edges because it's such a small piece. All right. We're gonna go for one more time, see if I like it. If not, I'll do a 4th. But yeah, that's definitely turning out how I want it to. Hopefully you can see like each time I add that coat, it gets more green like it does in the container. Because that's one of the things about the opal is that it's not, it gives you 2 options. You can have 2 different color looks with the opal polish. All the other polishes, when you put them on, it should look, once you get a few coats on, it should look exactly like it does inside the container. If it doesn't, you need to keep going. But this one, you have some options. Oh, the cat hair around here is a real issue, let me tell you. I don't know how I ended up with 4 cats, but it's a good thing. I love them dearly because the cat hair is such a hassle. And it doesn't help that they, you know, climb up here and just sit and watch me. You can't see, but I've got actually Ollie over to the left, and she's just looking at what I'm doing. Every once in a while, she'll like jump in front of the camera or run across my page. You guys have seen her. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. I am gonna maybe just one more coat just because I like to go the extra mile on everything. And I really want it to look green before I add the sea green kiss. And I've already got the stuff out, so why not? Did I do that one? I don't know. So just in case I didn't, there we go. I'm definitely making a mess of myself holding them. So if you get more space, instead of how tight I did, I've got it so close so that you can see with the camera, with the video. But if you spread them out a little, you won't have to hold them. Okay, I'm gonna clean off. Anytime I've got like a lump like that right there, I just clean it off. There we go. There's another. I didn't wipe my sponge enough. That looks good. Okay, all done with the blue parakeet. Take this, wipe it back in. This is actually a really good consistency. So when it comes to the water, I'm just gonna add 1 eyedropper full. This eyedropper is the one that comes with the petal palette from American Crafts that I love so much. It actually comes with 3 eyedroppers and then the palette, and that is this right here. If you don't have one, you definitely should if you like to use the gilding polishes. Okay, let's set that aside. Grab our last color, which is the Sea Green Kiss. I'm gonna open it up. Consistency wise, let me wipe this off. Okay, that looks really good. That's exactly how they should look when you open them up. Grab my new sponge and push and pull off. Okay. So if you've worked with the glitter kisses before, you know these ones, you know, the first coat or so, they just look awful. And then by your third coat, oh, actually that looks pretty spectacular already. But by your third coat, it's covering exactly the way it should here. This one, you definitely need to load up your brush almost every single time that you use it. Or your sponge, I should say. Look at that, that is great. Now my Sea Green Kiss is getting a little low. I actually use it a lot. I've gone through a couple of them. So anytime I buy a new one, I take all the old material and I scrape it out into the new pod. So never get rid of it. Even if it's hard as a rock, don't get rid of it. It can be revived. If you didn't know the trick with the water, don't start over with purchasing them. The ones you have are great. You just need to refresh them. And this is a great technique just because we're doing pine needles. I mean, think about the fall leaves you could do. Doing them, you know, when you see a fall leaf, it definitely has a lot of like color in it. It can have greens, where it starts off turning to the yellow and then the orange and red. You could actually make fall leaves with this stuff if you already got colors. And, you know, starting with the base color, which for me, I would probably start with green because that's how most leaves start out. And then add my other colors. You know, same thing with flowers. Flowers a lot of times are two-toned, so you can take 2 colors that, you know, look good together, a purple, a red, a pink and a yellow, or a dark pink and a light pink, and do layers like this. No wrong or right, you know, you can decide what your base is, but a lot of times for me, I like to start with my lighter colors, but it would depend on how I want it to look. And this is my third coat, and it is definitely gonna be enough. These guys look exactly like I want them to. So I am going to be done with them after I get the large ones done. I'm going to clean a little bit off, like right there. I think that's good. Oops, last one. Water too, I think if you mix different types of blues for water, that would be super cool. Oh, the cat hair. Okay, ladies, that is going to be it. This is our park page that we're doing, part of the kit. And then here is our really cool pine needles with a little bit of work. They are just spectacular. I hope you enjoyed.